The dirty dishwater splattered across Ethan's crisp white dress shirt in grotesque arcs. It was lukewarm, greasy, and reeked of yesterday's rotted vegetables. As the filth dripped down his chest, his mother-in-law, Rebecca, stood over him. The empty metal basin trembled in her manicured hands, her massive diamond rings catching the afternoon sunlight that streamed through the Willowbrook Country Club's floor-to-ceiling windows. From the adjacent table, Ethan's wife, Vanessa, and her lover, Derek, erupted into laughter. They raised their champagne glasses in a mock celebration, clinking the crystal together. The divorce papers Derek had just served Ethan were scattered across the linen tablecloth like confetti at a funeral. Ethan's hands shook as he wiped the filth from his eyes. He was unaware that his mother, Catherine Blackwell, who had died in her sleep just 4 days ago in what doctors called a peaceful passing, had been a multi-billionaire. It was a fact she had hidden from everyone, including her only son, for reasons that would soon tear this family apart in ways none of them could imagine. The family hangout that was supposed to be a casual Sunday brunch had transformed into a public execution. And what Ethan was about to do in response would crush Vanessa completely and leave Rebecca, her mother, so devastated that she would spend the rest of her life trying to undo this single afternoon. But how does a man who's been treated like garbage his entire marriage suddenly discover he's inherited billions? What secrets had his mother been keeping that would turn his humiliation into their destruction? Ethan Montgomery had learned long ago that silence was safer than protest. As the greasy water dripped from his collar onto the Italian marble floor, that lesson echoed through his mind like a prayer he'd memorized through repetition rather than faith. The other diners had gone quiet. Forks were suspended mid-air. Conversations died like candle flames in a sudden draft. He could feel their stares, some horrified, some curious, some barely concealing their amusement at watching a man get what the wealthy always assumed poor people deserved. "That's what happens when you forget your place," Rebecca hissed, setting the basin down with a loud clang. She was a woman who had spent 63 years perfecting the art of cruelty disguised as social refinement. Her silver hair was styled in a way that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her St. John knit suit was the color of old money and fresh contempt. She sneered, "You come to my daughter's brunch looking like some homeless vagrant, embarrassing us in front of our friends. Someone needed to clean you up." Vanessa's laughter was the worst part, not Derek's, the personal trainer she'd been sleeping with for the past 8 months. Derek's muscles seemed inversely proportional to his intelligence, and his presence here was an insult Ethan was expected to swallow. No, it was his wife's laughter that cut deepest. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of her slowly transforming from the woman who'd once looked at him with affection into this stranger who found joy in his degradation. "Oh God, Mom, you actually did it," Vanessa gasped between peals of laughter. "I didn't think you'd actually throw the dishwater on him." Her hand rested possessively on Derek's forearm. Her engagement ring, the one Ethan had saved for 6 months to buy, was still on her finger like a trophy she was too cruel to remove. Rebecca dabbed at her pristine outfit and said, "Someone had to teach him some respect. After everything our family has done for him, he shows up late, looking like he rolled out of bed." Ethan's voice trembled as he spoke quietly. "My mother died 4 days ago." The words felt strange in his mouth, too small for the enormity they represented. "The funeral was yesterday. I haven't been sleeping." The silence that followed was brief, surgical in its precision, before Rebecca's face hardened into something uglier than before. "Oh, please," she said. "That woman barely raised you anyway, didn't she?" Catherine was what? A bookkeeper? A secretary? Something equally forgettable? Rebecca waved her hand dismissively as if his grief were cigarette smoke she could disperse with a gesture. "Some people are born to serve, Ethan. Your mother understood that. Perhaps it's time you did, too, if she had known." If any of them had known that Catherine Blackwell had died as the silent majority shareholder of Blackwell Industries, a technology conglomerate worth $37 billion, that single comment might have remained unspoken. But secrets have their own gravity, and Catherine had kept hers locked away for 34 years. Ethan's phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. It had been buzzing all morning. Unknown numbers, messages he assumed were spam or creditors. The water was starting to soak through to his skin now, cold and disgusting. He could smell the sour stench, days-old pasta water mixed with soap scum and spoiled milk. Derek leaned back with arrogance and said, "You know what I love about this? Van's been telling me for months how pathetic you are. But seeing it in person, man, it's like watching a kicked puppy that doesn't even know it's allowed to bite back. Derek was younger than Ethan by 5 years, blessed with a chiseled jaw that suggested his ancestors had been too beautiful to develop critical thinking skills. His hand slid across the table, gathering the divorce papers into a neat stack. "These are official now, by the way," Derek continued. "Van gets the apartment, the car, and half of whatever pathetic savings you've got hidden away. You get to start over with nothing. Seems fair, doesn't it? You came into this marriage with nothing. You should leave with nothing." Vanessa's smile was radiant, cruel in its beauty. Her mother's money had always loomed in the background, a safety net that had slowly transformed into a cage for their relationship. Every argument, every disagreement, Rebecca's wealth had been the implied threat. "I just want this over with," Vanessa said with a bored tone. "Derek and I are moving to his place in the Hamptons next week. We'd like a clean break." The phone rang loudly again. Rebecca curled her lip in disgust. "Aren't you going to answer that? What bill collector is so desperate to reach you?" Ethan pulled the phone out with wet fingers, leaving water stains on the screen. The number was unfamiliar, but something made him swipe to answer. Perhaps it was the need to escape this conversation. "Hello," he answered. The voice on the other end was crisp and professional. "Mr. Montgomery, this is Jennifer Walsh from Walsh, Patterson, and Klein. I'm the executor of your mother, Catherine Blackwell's estate. I've been trying to reach you all morning." Ethan frowned. "My mother didn't have an estate. She lived in a rent-controlled apartment. She worked as a bookkeeper." Jennifer Walsh replied immediately, "Mr. Montgomery, I am not at liberty to discuss details over the phone, but I can assure you that your mother's estate is substantial enough to require immediate legal attention. Can you come to our offices within the hour?" "How substantial?" Ethan asked. There was a pause, the kind lawyers make when they are calculating what they can and cannot say. "Substantial enough that you should not sign any legal documents until we've had a chance to speak," she said. "Have you recently been served with divorce papers?" Ethan looked at Derek, at Vanessa, at Rebecca's expectant face. "Yes, about 20 minutes ago." Jennifer's voice became urgent. "Do not sign them. Do not agree to anything. Come to our offices immediately." "I know where you are," Ethan said. "I'll be there in 40 minutes. He ended the call. The table was silent now. The laughter was replaced by something that looked almost like concern on Vanessa's face. "Almost. What was that about?" Rebecca demanded. "What inheritance?" "I don't know," Ethan said. That was true. But somewhere in the back of his mind, a memory was stirring. He was 7 years old, asking his mother why they lived differently than the other kids. She had smoothed his hair back and said, "Money poisons everything it touches. I'm keeping you safe from that poison." Derek scoffed. "Well, whatever it is, it's not enough to save you from this divorce. Van is entitled to half of anything you get anyway. Community property laws, man." Ethan stood up. Water dripped from his clothes onto the country club floor, creating a puddle. He could feel every eye in the restaurant on him. "I'll be back," he said. "You can't just leave." Vanessa cried out. "We're in the middle of a divorce brunch." Ethan's voice was quiet, but it had shifted. "Yes, we are, and I'll be back to finish it. But first, I need to see some lawyers about my mother's estate." Rebecca laughed incredulously. "Your mother was nobody, a glorified closet dweller. What kind of estate could she possibly have?" "I guess we'll find out," Ethan said. He walked toward the exit, his wet shoes squeaking against the marble, leaving behind the laughter that was starting to sound nervous. The offices of Walsh, Patterson, and Klein occupied the top 3 floors of the Meridian Tower. Jennifer Walsh's office was a corner suite, glass, steel, and understated luxury. Jennifer was younger than Ethan expected, maybe 40, with gray eyes that evaluated him with the clinical precision of a surgeon. "Mr. Montgomery," she said, "please sit down. Can I offer you something? Coffee? Water?" "Answers," Ethan replied. "You said my mother had a substantial estate." Jennifer opened a leather portfolio. Inside were documents stacked an inch thick. "Your mother was Catherine Ann Blackwell, daughter of Thomas Blackwell, founder of Blackwell Industries." The name hit Ethan like a physical blow. Blackwell Industries, everyone knew the name. Semiconductors, aerospace, defense contracts, AI, one of the 50 largest private companies in America. "That's not possible," Ethan said. "My mother's name was Catherine Montgomery." Jennifer nodded. "She changed it legally 34 years ago. But she never relinquished her inheritance. She placed the shares in a blind trust managed by this firm. And now they pass to you." Ethan felt the room tilt. "How much?" he asked. Jennifer spoke calmly. "The shares in Blackwell Industries are currently valued at approximately $37 billion. With real estate, art, and bonds, your total inheritance is approximately $42 billion. $42 billion. The number was so large it lost meaning. It became abstract. Why? Ethan managed to ask. Why did she hide this from me? Jennifer handed him a cream-colored envelope. She left you a letter, she said. Ethan's hands shook as he opened it. His mother's elegant handwriting filled 3 pages. He read her voice in his mind, "My dearest Ethan, if you are reading this, I am gone. I hid so much from you, not out of cruelty, but out of love. I grew up in a gilded cage. My father believed money could solve any problem, but I watched it destroy my siblings. We were monsters, Ethan, beautiful, educated monsters. When I got pregnant with you, I had to leave. I couldn't let you grow up in that environment. I wanted you to develop character, compassion, and the strength that comes from facing real struggles. The inheritance is not a gift. It is a terrible responsibility. People will treat you differently, but I believe I raised you right. You are not your money. You are the boy who helped neighbors carry groceries. You are defined by your choices, not your bank account. I'm not sorry for the way I raised you. You are my greatest accomplishment, not the Blackwell fortune. You, with all my love, Mom." Ethan read the letter 3 times. Each word settled into his understanding like stones creating a path across a river. Jennifer watched him. "Take your time," she said. Ethan looked up. "The divorce papers, if I had signed them before coming here." Jennifer nodded. "Community property laws would have entitled your wife to half, roughly $21 billion, but I didn't sign them," Ethan said. "No, you didn't," Jennifer smiled a small smile. "And now that you know, any settlement will be different, especially regarding the affair. I assume the man at brunch was her paramour?" "Derek." "Yes," Ethan confirmed. "In New York, adultery dramatically affects divorce settlements," Jennifer explained. "I propose we countersue. We offer her a settlement, somewhere between 10 and 20 million. It's generous enough to seem fair, but small enough to serve as punishment." $10 million, Ethan repeated. An amount that would have seemed impossible an hour ago was now the lower end of reasonable. "What about her mother?" Ethan asked. "Rebecca threw dishwater on me today." Jennifer looked intrigued. "Rebecca Morrison serves on several charity boards. Those organizations depend on donations from wealthy benefactors. Benefactors like the new owner of Blackwell Industries." The implications settled over Ethan. Rebecca's entire identity was built on her social standing. To lose that would be to lose everything. "That seems cruel," Ethan said. "Your mother didn't raise you to be cruel," Jennifer agreed, "but she didn't raise you to be a doormat. There is a difference between kindness and weakness, Mr. Montgomery." Ethan walked to the window. From 47 stories up, Manhattan looked like a game board. "I need to think about this," he said. "Of course," Jennifer replied. She slid a black card across the desk. "This is temporary access. 50 million limit. Go buy yourself some new clothes. Get a hotel. You shouldn't go back to that apartment." 50 million for clothes? Ethan asked. Jennifer smiled. "Think of it as your mother's final gift." The Willowbrook Country Club was even more crowded when Ethan returned 3 hours later. He had stopped at Tom Ford on 5th Avenue. He wore a navy custom-fitted suit now, Italian leather shoes, and a watch that cost more than most cars. He had showered at the Plaza Hotel, washing away the dishwater and some of the humiliation. Vanessa, Rebecca, and Derek were exactly where he'd left them, now moving on to afternoon cocktails. They looked up, confusion rippling across their faces as they tried to reconcile the man in front of them with the one they degraded hours earlier. "Ethan," Vanessa asked uncertainly. "What? Where did you get that suit?" Ethan calmly sat down. "I had a meeting with my mother's lawyers." Derek laughed forcibly. "Dude, you can't just buy expensive clothes and expect us to believe you have money." "I'm not here to convince you of anything," Ethan said, his voice carrying a heavy weight. "I'm here to discuss the divorce." Vanessa scoffed, finally ready to sign the papers. "No," Ethan said, "I'm here to deliver a counter-offer." "Vanessa, you filed for divorce citing irreconcilable differences. I'm counter-filing on grounds of adultery with documented evidence of your affair with Derek starting 8 months ago." The blood drained from Vanessa's face. "You can't. You don't have evidence." Text messages. Hotel receipts. Witness testimonies, Ethan listed. "My lawyers have compiled quite a file, but I'm not interested in a battle. I'm offering you a settlement. $10 million. Take it or leave it." Rebecca laughed nervously. "10 million? Where would you even get $10 million? Ethan looked her in the eye. "I'm the sole heir to Catherine Blackwell's estate. My mother was the majority shareholder of Blackwell Industries. The inheritance totals approximately $42 billion. The silence was absolute. Vanessa's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Rebecca looked like she had been punched in the stomach. Derek froze. "That's not possible," Vanessa whispered. "She was a bookkeeper. She was Catherine Blackwell," Ethan said. "And she chose to live modestly to keep me safe from people like you." Rebecca stammered. "If that's true." Then Vanessa gets half, community property. She would have gotten half, Ethan corrected her, if I had signed those papers earlier. But I didn't. And now the settlement is based on adultery laws. He placed an envelope on the table. This is the formal offer, 10 million. It expires in 48 hours. Take it, or we go to court and a jury can watch the video of your mother throwing dishwater on a grieving widower. Vanessa began crying. Ethan, please, I didn't know. If I'd known. If you'd known, you would have treated me differently. Ethan finished for her. That's the point, isn't it? You valued me based on what I could provide, not who I was. He stood up, buttoning his jacket. Rebecca's voice cracked. What about? My charity boards, are you? Ethan paused. I'm meeting with those organizations next week. If I find board members who abuse their positions to humiliate others, well, I imagine I'll have opinions about whether they should remain. Rebecca made a broken sound, her social empire crumbling in her mind. Ethan turned to leave, then paused, looking at Derek. Oh, and Derek. Your gym on 53rd Street? Blackwell Industries owns that building. I hear the new ownership is planning to triple the commercial rents. You might want to look for a location in New Jersey. Derek's face went white. Ethan walked away, leaving them in the wreckage of their assumptions. It should have felt better than it did. Revenge was supposed to be sweet. Instead, Ethan just felt tired. He stepped out into the Manhattan evening. The city glittered around him, lights representing lives, dreams, and struggles. His phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer Walsh. How did it go? Ethan typed back, like you predicted. They're devastated. Jennifer replied, good, not because revenge is sweet, but because consequences are important. My mother would have said the same thing, Ethan whispered. $42 billion couldn't bring back his mother. It couldn't repair his broken marriage, but it could buy justice. It could ensure that the next time someone thought about pouring dirty water on a stranger, they might hesitate. 2 days later, Vanessa signed the settlement. Rebecca was quietly asked to step down from 3 charity boards. Derek's gym closed, and he moved to Philadelphia. Ethan didn't feel victorious. He felt like a man who had learned an expensive lesson about human nature. He established a foundation in Catherine's name, focused on poverty and education. He sold the Blackwell shares and invested in sustainable businesses. 6 months later, he met someone new, Emma, a high school teacher who had never heard of Blackwell Industries. She liked him for his kindness. When he finally told her about the inheritance, she was quiet for a long time. Does it change anything? Ethan asked her. Emma smiled. It changes what restaurants we can afford, but it doesn't change who you are. Money doesn't do that. It just reveals what was always there. She was right, just like his mother had been right. The money hadn't changed him. It had just changed who was paying attention. And in the end, that made all the difference.